Hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the show. And with me today, I have Charlie with me and Sean with me. Say hello to everybody.
Hey,
Hello.
And
what's
I
going
bet,
on?
and I guess what? I guess you guys are probably wondering, what are we doing a YouTube show in the middle of a Super Bowl? Well, for starters, I don't really care that much about the Super Bowl for this year, so I figured doing a top 10 list of 2010 is a whole lot better than celebrating the Super Bowl at this moment. So, with further ado, this is actually going to be our best list of 2010. And what better way to do a 2010 review than to actually do a top 10 review for 2010? So, I'm going to go on ahead and give Charlie the floor for his first movie that he's going to be mentioning in his number 10 spot.
All right. My first movie in my number 10 spot of 2010 is The A-Team. This was just this is the 2010 seemed to be the year of the squad based action movies. I mean, you got I think you had The A-Team, which came out in June, which it got a lot of heat because some like original people that were on the show didn't like the movie. I didn't care. I enjoyed it. I thought they got a great cast. Liam Neeson. I mean, I thought he's perfect as Hannibal Smith. I mean, he just has that charisma. You had Bradley Cooper's face. Charlton Copley as Mad Murdock. Because I mean, he was definitely that crazy character. And then you had an MMA fighter. Rampage Jackson as PA. And I thought that, like I said, the act. It was, sure, some people say call it formulaic. I thought it was entertaining, and that's why I had it as number 10, because that was the one of the movies that came out. I believe I think it was Father's Day weekend. I stayed after work one day and just watched it, and it was like because I was cleaning the Sean and I, we were working at the theater at the time, and I cleaned that movie. And then I got, after I cleaned it, yeah, you can go home early. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go watch this movie. And I saw the ending of the movie when I was cleaning. I was like, oh, I'm going to watch this movie.
So I guess it wasn't that busy.
I guess not. It was like, yeah, it was like a weekend in June. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great movie. That's why I had it as my number 10.
It's definitely, to me, it's like your standard popcorn movie where you just want to go, you want to be entertained for like 2 hours, see some explosions, have a few laughs, and just sit back and have a good time.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and that's what it was. I mean, them flying the tank. I mean, you can't see it anywhere else. I mean, it's like them flying the tank, and it's like they're trying to fly the tank, and then seeing them do it, and it was like, oh yeah, you just need to go that way, and then just like
shooting it to move them across the sky.
Shooting it, like, what are they doing? And then or just like or the joke that we Hannibal Smith, after he got incinerated. So Devil walks into a bar.
But yeah, it's one of those popcorn flavored type of movies where you can just stuff your face with popcorn for a while, forget about everything surrounding you for 2.5 hours, and just watch the A-Team. That's what the kind of vibe that I actually got from the A-Team itself. I didn't actually see this in the theaters or anything like that, like I was going to. I just went on ahead and saw something else because it was actually stacked that year. So I forgot what I saw in its place, but I did see it afterwards on DVD and everything. I liked it for what it was, but that didn't make my top 10, but I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So what do you have?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So what do you have on your 10, Sean?
All right. So this came out in 2010 overseas. It came out early in 2011 here, but it's so good, I felt like I had to put it on. It's called I Saw the Devil. It's by Ji-Woon Kim. It's about this cop, or this I guess he's like an FBI agent, and his wife gets murdered by a serial killer. So then it's a Korean movie, and then it's him going to find the serial killer to get vengeance. And the whole thing is early on he does find him, and then it's a whole like he messes with him, lets him go, messes with him, lets him go. So you're kind of watching this detective break down this serial killer to make him feel what he felt when he found out his wife was murdered. It's a long movie. It's about 2.5 hours, but I'm telling you, after the first like 15 minutes, you're at the edge of your seat the whole time, and it just moves really well. If you're really into movies like Seven, but you want maybe a little bit more horror to it or some more action, I highly recommend checking out this movie. It's really good.
Okay, and what's that called? I haven't seen that
Called
one before.
I Saw the Devil. I know
Okay.
you can rent it on Amazon Prime, I think for like $4. Like it's not very expensive to rent.
Okay.
But it's really good. The guy that plays the serial killer in it is the same dude that played the original Hellboy. I think it's like Choi Min-sink or something like that. But like he plays the perfect to where it's like he's kind of compassionate to his victims and then flips to be insane. But
Oh wow,
it's really
I'm
good
gonna have to check that
acting.
out.
Yeah, it's really intense, really good acting if you're into those thriller type of movies.
All right. So my number 10 is actually The Losers. This is actually similar to the A-Team. This is
Yeah.
also why this movie didn't really make that much money, was because everybody's like, oh, this is too much like the A-Team. This just feels like one of those films that have been done and everything already. So it didn't really make that much money at the box office, I believe. This is also a Marvel film and everything too, and I didn't even know that was. What's that?
I think it was DC Vertigo. I think that was the comic that his graphic novel was based off of. I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, because
Yeah.
on the thing it says Marvel whenever you actually start up the movie
Does
and
it?
everything. Yeah,
Hmm.
it does. So
Maybe they
I
bought the
actually
rights
found
to
that.
it or something. I have to look.
Maybe I don't
Maybe they
know.
actually shared it. But I found that kind of interesting because I didn't even know it was based off of a graphic novel or a comic book or anything like that. I thought it was just an original concept. But for them to actually come out with something like The Losers and everything, you can't beat the casting. You have Chris Evans in this movie. Not to mention, you also have Negan from The Walking Dead.
Jeffrey
You know
Dean
who I'm
Morgan.
talking about. Yep. You actually
Idris
have him in
Elba,
there. Yep.
Zoe Saldana.
Yep.
So
Technically, John, you jumped ahead of this one. This was my number 2 of the year.
Yeah, this was my
really?
number 4. It's on my list too.
Okay. Sweet.
This was
So we can all talk about
I
that
saw
and
this-
mark it off.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see that for number 2. So when we get to
Okay.
it,
Okay.
Well,
That's not a
I'll
problem.
add a little bit to it if you
okay,
want.
I can add a little bit, but yeah, I'll get a lot go more in depth when we get to number 2.
Yeah, like you said, John, the cast is great for this movie. I loved the bit in the beginning where it I forget how they broke down each character, but in the beginning where it would say their name and then it went into like the comic graphic. Like I just loved all that. Like being a comic book fan, I was like, this movie rocks.
Yeah.
And I love Idris Elba. Like he's one of my favorite actors, and just to have him, just to see him, like his character is so cool. And like Jeffrey Dean Morgan's another one of my favorites.
I mean, like I'll go more in depth when it says this is my number 2, but I think I just love the sequence that I knew I loved the movies when they're like after they got traveled overseas and they come out of the caskets, let's go bird hunting and the slow motion walking and the music in the background. I'm like, all right, I love this movie. This movie's awesome. I remember he tried, like Tim was very our friend Tim was very hesitant on this movie. He's like, it's not R-rated, so it's not gonna be good. And then you show the movie, he immediately bought it.
Yeah, it's good. The chemistry
That's a
between the
good way.
cast is excellent.
Yeah, I'll go more in depth when we get closer. But yeah, because I want to see a lot for that.
Okay, that's fine. But what else I have to say about this is what I loved about it was, like you mentioned, Sean, is the opening sequences with the comic books and stuff like that. And seeing that as a comic book fan was really great. And also like the fact that this is like the introduction to Idris Elba pretty much, because really he just was starting to get his name out there a little bit. Wasn't the well-known actor that we know today. And I really loved his character. I love the chemistry between the other actors and actresses in this film. My favorite scene, though, would actually have to be the scene where Chris Evans is actually in the elevator and he goes, I got magic powers. And
mind bullets.
And then and then the other guy was actually in the other building and he's a sniper, and and all of a sudden Chris Evans goes, and all of a sudden the bullet the bullet winds up shooting him, and then all of a sudden the song from Journey, Don't Stop Believing, starts playing. It's just a hilarious thing that this actually has. And then also too, every single shirt that Chris Evans has is a different comical element to it. Like they have a one where a girl's eating a hot dog and everything, and I really liked how they actually incorporated it into something that was supposed to be dirty for a PG-13 kind of movie. I thought it actually worked. I thought the humor worked in it. Chris Evans stole the show in this. Jeffrey Dean Morgan does a really good job. So does Zoe Saldana. She's actually one of my favorite actresses as well. So that's and even the stunt work was really good for a PG-13 movie. This movie worked, and it knew what it was. So.
Yeah, I loved.
My number 10.
I loved how Chris Evans was so invested in his like niece's soccer team too.
Yes,
that's true.
The little running gag. I mean, it's just funny because he did Captain America right after this. So there's the kind of tagline. They did stuff to me, spooky stuff, anal stuff. But I'll go into more when I get to number 2.
Okay, so what's your number 9, Charlie?
All right, I had Iron Man 2. I just enjoyed this movie for what it was. There's a lot of heat on it, but I didn't care. This is what really kicked off the MCU in a sense, because you brought in Black Widow, you brought in more of Coulson, you brought more of the Avengers Initiative. Nick Fury was involved more in this one, and then of course the big tease at the end. Oh yeah, we got to go to New Mexico. Yeah, Thor's hammer is just randomly here. So I mean, this is a movie that just had a lot of those good elements in it. It had a lot of great action. I mean, and it was funny too. I mean, just them bashing Hammer Tech like the whole time. I'm like, okay, we're gonna doing the court hearing or whatever. All right, we're gonna test this robot. And 3, 2, 1, turn. And then he just breaks his back. I'm like, oh my god! It's like, oh no, that didn't work. Or and of course the ex-wife, the little rocket. He's like, this is a little piece I like to show. It's called the ex-wife. And then War Machine tries using it, and it bounces off the guy like Hammer Tech. I mean, it was just entertaining for what it is, and it was just like I liked it, and also because we brought in these characters and how this is really happening. We're really getting the MCU, and I like it, so that's why it's my number 9.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's not my favorite MCU movie. I do. It's weird that I don't like that movie as much because I love the screenwriter for that. The guy he wrote Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, I believe The Last Boy Scout. As well. Yeah, and like I love all those movies, but I like the movie, but I don't think it would make a list or anything. But I did enjoy it when I saw it.
Same here as well. I like Shane Black for a Shane Black kind of movie. If this was actually not Iron Man and just called it something else, and it was just a Shane Black movie, it'd be great. But considering the fact that
I thought it was Iron Man 3. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean
it. Iron Man 3, but I think he wrote Iron Man 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I think so.
That's what I'm trying to get at is the fact that, look it up real quick for me, Sean, because if I'm wrong, hey, it's not going to be the first time I'm wrong about something. But, here's the thing. It didn't make my list or anything like that, but I appreciate the fact that you liked it, Charlie. But for me, I just didn't like the dialogue, the flow with Mickey Rourke. I thought he was miscast. And everything, and I get the fact that at that time it was the return of Mickey Rourke. It was actually the time during whenever he actually made The Wrestler, he was actually making a comeback for himself and things like that. And I was rooting for him to actually go further than what he did with his comeback. And it just, for me, it just didn't fall. It fell flat for me, but that's just me. But
it was Justin Theroux.
Yeah, I guess it was Iron Man 3. Was Shane Black? I thought
Shane
it was
Black.
2 for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know why I didn't like Iron Man 2 then.
Yeah. Yeah, Justin Theroux directed this. He wrote the screenplay for this one.
Okay. Because if it was the part 3, I would actually tell you why I didn't like part 3 that much.
Where's the one where he lost all his armor? Was that 3?
That was 3.
Yeah, that was 3.
Okay. So yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of then.
Yeah, 2 is the one where he was doing the the thing in his chest was killing him, so you had to find a new form, and then that's where we find vibranium, and then while he's creating it, he finds Captain America's shield, which I thought was hilarious. He's like, oh, paperweight. Oh wow, it fits perfectly. I mean, it's just a little kind of showing that he found Captain America's shield, and then a year later we got that. But it was just more.
Is Sam Rockwell in that one too?
Yeah, he played Hammer Tech. He's having the huge presentation of all the guns, and like he's like, yeah. And then the ex-wife.
Okay.
And then that was the sequence where Black Widow's like, all right, I have a Happy Driver, and she's changing in the back, and he's staring at her. Watch the road, God. And then it's like she beats up every single one at Ricky Works' place of business, and she's beating everybody up, and Happy's just beating up that one guy. I got him, and you see everybody else all beat up. Because Emily Blunt was in the running for Black Widow, and it was this movie, but I think she had scheduling conflicts, so she couldn't do it.
Okay. So, let's see. What do you have for your number 9, Sean?
I have another Korean movie. It's called The Man from Nowhere.
Oh, I think I heard about one. Yeah.
So this one you can watch on Prime if you have a subscription. It's about a guy who runs a pawn shop, and he has one friend, and it's like this little girl. And these guys and the little girl's mom is kind of hangs out with a bad crowd, and she ends up stealing some heroin. Bad guys come, take the girl, and then the pawn shop guy, you find out later that he has some other training, and he's working at a pawn shop for a reason. And he ends up going after the thugs that took the girl, and it's kind of like a very John Wickish movie. I think it's a little bit more intense, but I kind of like a lot of like the Japanese and the Korean, like their dramas and stuff. I just think how their fight scenes are done are a lot better than a lot of US films. So I do think the fight scenes, situations seem to be more tense. I'm guessing maybe just because of how it's shot. But if you like a good action movie, I would say it's more of like a John Wick with a better story. So if you're looking for something like that, I would say check it out.
Okay.
I watched it years ago. I don't remember much of it. I think I watched it I don't remember when last time I watched it, but I remember seeing it. It's been a long time since I watched it. I think it was on Netflix like years ago, but I can't remember it.
Does it have like a Raid kind of vibe to it, where the action sequences are just like Raid?
I have not seen that. People have recommended it to me, but I haven't watched it.
Oh, I think you like it. I think you like Raid.
That movie's awesome.
Like, is it similar? Have you ever watched any of the or is it The Protector with Tony Jaa?
Tony Jaa, I've heard of those. Yeah.
So there's one scene where it's literally he storms like this hideout, and it's all one shot. It's really cool, and it's literally him going up the steps and just like fighting like hundreds of guys. But it's all one shot. It's pretty cool scene if you are into that kind of like fight choreography and stuff like that.
The Raid is just awesome. The Raid Redemption. That's what like because the Raid Redemption came out, and then Dread came out, and in the sense that Dread fighting up the floors to get to the baddie. That was essentially the Raid, and it was just a lot. Really, the movie is so intense, and like the main guy Ikiwa. I can't think of the guy's last name. He's been in a lot of stuff. That's why he was the main reason I wanted to watch Mile 22. It's because he was in it. And because I know he does some great action sequences. But The Raid is awesome. And then the sequel takes it up to another level.
Really?
Okay.
I'll have to check them out.
Second one's long, though. Second one's like 2.5 hours.
Pretty good.
Okay. Let's see here. For my number 9, I got Date Night with Steve Carell and Tina Fey. This is actually a movie I revisited today just because I wanted to see if this movie still holds up, because I remember going to the movie theater and watching it and just laughing my ass off on it and everything. And I like the comical aspect of it, where basically Steve Carell and Tina Fey go into this restaurant. They don't even have a reservation or anything like that. They just want to have a night alone away from their kids. And so they fake like that they're actually the horns. And what happens is once they sit down and everything, because of the fact that they actually faked the reservation, that's when everything just starts going haywire. Turns out the horns are actually some people that were blackmailing a politician and also part of the mob as well. And they got sucked into it on an accident because of Steve Carell faking that they are the horns, but the triple horns. But what I liked though was couple of my favorite scenes is number 1, whenever they go over to Mark Wahlberg's place and he doesn't even have a shirt on or anything. Right. And Steve Carell is just
That's
looking at him and goes, yeah. He's like, for crying out loud, do you have a shirt? And then all of a sudden, Gal Gadot walks down the stairs, and she's just wearing his shirt, wearing Mark Wahlberg's shirt, and goes, oh, there it is. There's the shirt. And then she's talking Israel.
He was Tina Fey's ex-boyfriend or something, and it was that gimmick. It's like, I knew a guy, and he's like, he was her ex.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, she was a real estate agent that showed him this apartment, and that's what winds up happening is these cops are actually after them.
Yeah. And
so that's what winds up happening. And so Gal Gadot walks down, and she's talking Israelic, and basically she says, "You, me, sex," and talking about Tina Fey and Steve Carell. And Mark Wahlberg turns around and says, "No, they're not here for sex." And then she responds back. She goes, "Good. They look old and weak." So, and then the scene with the taxi cab when they're trying to escape from the cops, they go on a head-on collision and everything with the taxi cab and Mark Wahlberg's car, and they're trying to basically they're trying to tear the two ends apart to where they can go their own separate way, but the two cars are just stuck together. So the guy in the taxi cab goes, "Go, let go, slam your brakes." "No, you slam your brakes." He goes, "No, I'm slamming my brakes. You slam your gas." And then Mark Wahlberg's not Mark Wahlberg, but then you actually have Steve Carell. He goes, "Zip your lip, zip your face." So I just thought this movie was comical. Of course, James Franco was in this movie though too. Then you have Mila Kunis in this movie as a little cameo.
The strip club
sequence. This movie's pretty funny. It still holds up.
The strip club sequence is hysterical, where Tina Fey has to pose as a prostitute or like a stripper, and the two of them are doing a routine on both Steve Carell and Tina Fey are doing a routine on each separate stripper pole to impress the drug lord.
Yeah, Steve Carell's posing as a pimp as well, so that makes it even funny. He has those little jogging pants on and everything, and he's just posing as a pimp. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
So that's actually my number 9.
Okay.
So
all right, my number 8 is the Dwayne Johnson's first action movie from doing kid movies, Faster. This is the one where he played the guy that came out of he was he just came out of prison, and he's trying to find the guys that killed his that set him and his brother up. This one was just Dwayne Johnson being a badass the whole movie. He's like a hitman or whatever, and and everybody's he's going in this club to figure out where this guy is, and this one the bouncer's getting up to what are those marks? "Oh, I have no beef with you, man." Because it was he was the driver that he was the getaway driver, and then they get to this house, and then his brother gets set up, and they kill his brother, and he gets shot in the back of his head, and everybody deemed him dead, and then he has a metal plate. So it's essentially, it came out over Thanksgiving. It was a very low budget one, but it was just The Rock being a badass, and it was this Thanksgiving, if you're on his list, you're already dead. I mean, it had I think Billy Bob Thornton was in this. I think Carla Gugino, she was in it. She played one of the cops. And mainly it was a Rock vehicle essentially. And while this professional hitman was trying to go after the Rock guy or whatever it is, and Deb from the Dexter was briefly in this movie. This movie was just awesome. It was just and it was right before the Rock joined Fast and Furious, and this is his first big R-rated, his first big, I'm done with kid movies. I'm doing my stuff, and it's just something I definitely worth checking out because the action sequences are just awesome, and then it's just The Rock and then he knows how to drive a car.
It's I haven't seen the movie, but I remember the poster to where it's just his giant forearm holding a gun and the car behind him.
Yeah, and it's a nice car. I mean, this car is it's like that, and then
it's a GTO. It's actually a muscle GTO car. It's really great.
He's channeling his inner Toretto. He's like I said, he did this right before he did the Fast Five. He joined the Fast and Furious crew with Fast Five. This came out right before it. It was just I just remember this movie and it was like I watched it. It was just so good. I mean, the action sequences are great, and it's just like he's a man of little words. Like after like he's going after this pastor or whatever, and he's like this guy's doing a prayer, and he's like and he pulls out his gun. All right, sermon's over.
And you know what though, I have this as my number 4, but I'm gonna talk about it. I'll just mark this off mine. But what I liked about it was the same reasons like you liked it, Charlie. I liked the fact that it didn't have that much dialogue, but you knew that you were on his shit list just by the way he looks at you. You just don't want to come in contact with this guy, especially the way he looks at you, the way he stares you down. If you're on that list, you're pretty much dead. But, you know, even the part with the preacher and everything, too, which I thought was funny because it's actually in this little revival tent that he comes in and he's just sitting down. And then all of a sudden the pastor just looks up at him and he realizes, oh, shit.
Yeah, you're done.
And then also, too, he winds up finding out that one of the people that he killed survived.
Yeah.
And so he goes back over to the ER, goes through the ER doors, takes out his gun and shoots him while they're actually operating on the guy. And then walks off and like nothing even happened. So
yeah. Well, that's also when he has the shootout with Billy Bob Thornton. I mean, he can cycle that gun. I mean, there's the shootout in the apartment building. How he's able to like reload the gun that quick, and then just like I mean, The Rock was on fire in this movie, and he's like he definitely was like the perfect guy for this movie. And it was nice to see him back in that role right before he became franchise Viagra.
Let's see. So, Sean, what's your number 8?
For my number 8, I had It's Kind of a Funny Story. It's about a kid who I think he's getting ready to commit suicide, but he doesn't, and he checks himself into a mental institution. I forget what that actor's name is, but I think the biggest one is probably Zach Galifianakis is in it. Mm-hmm. He plays one of the patients, and it's a decent story. It's just another of the kid trying to find a purpose in life. But I think you want to watch this for Zach Galifianakis' performance. Usually, you know, he's kind of like a one-hit pony, you know, just plays the comedic role. And this, he kind of walks a good line for being funny and then switching to like super serious. So it's a different range, a different role for him. I guess it's kind of like Baskets, if you ever watch that with him in it, to where it's kind of serious, but then goofy as well. But it's really funny. I think I might have seen it in theaters. If not, I know I rented it as soon as it was available. But definitely check it out if you're into like those indie coming of age stories.
Yeah, matter of fact, I did see this. I saw this on DirecTV.
Some of my least favorites. So
least?
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. I remember, was it in your 2008 you hated In Bruges? And that was my favorite movie of 2008.
But don't forget, he also has The Love Guru as on his list as one of his favorites.
I said honorable mentions. It wasn't in my top 10 favorites. There's a distinction on that.
I almost walked out of that movie, Charlie. That's how bad it was. But no, I really liked it.
I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was. It was The Love Guru, something that came out. It was like I went to see this in the theaters. It was like my mom and my dad was on a business trip at that time. We went to see it, and it's just we liked it. I mean, it's the first time I saw Justin Timberlake as in a comedic role, and like because I always saw him, I always thought he's like, oh, I just assumed he's this pretty boy prick or whatever. And then I watched him.
Black Snake Moan with him in it.
No, I didn't watch that.
Or Alpha.
He was hilarious in Love Guru. He was like my highlight, but
another thing, Charlie, I would actually recommend is Alpha Dog, and also what Sean mentioned as well, because Black Snake Moan, both of those films are really good for his serious roles and everything.
Yeah,
it shows the level of acting he can do.
I watched Alpha Dog with him in that, and
plus Sam Jackson and Christina Ricci.
No, I've never Black Snake. No, I haven't seen it.
I have that on DVD.
But yeah, I do have to agree with you though, Sean. I really like the level of acting that Zach did in that movie that you mentioned. I didn't see this in theaters or anything like that. I saw this, as a matter of fact, on DirecTV. So I didn't get around to actually seeing it in theaters because indie movies don't really come out my way or anything like that for some reason.
Mhm.
So I actually have to wait when an indie movies actually hit. And when they hit, I love watching indie films. And Zach actually does a really good job of blending in the comedic timing and also the dramatic timing as
Yeah.
well. And it also makes you feel for the other character as well that's actually in this institution and everything. And the only friend that he actually has is Zach. And he's actually
Yeah.
relying on Zach. So I really like that. So let's see here. From my number 8, I actually have Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Hell yeah.
And this is actually one of my favorites. This is like, if you're looking for a good video game adaptation and everything, this is actually the movie that you actually want to see. And there's not really anyone that you can actually root for in this movie because here's the thing: Scott is kind of a douchebag. He cares about himself. He's self-centered, and he's also dating Knives and also Mona and everything too at the same time. And he's playing dangerous games between the both of them. But I love the fight sequences between the boyfriends and everything whenever he actually has to take them down. And also too, Chris Evans is in this movie. You also have a couple of other actors who weren't even that big at that time or anything like that. And
Brie Larson
I
was
like
in
how
this.
yeah, you also have what's her name from Marvel, from Captain Marvel in this movie too.
Brie Larson.
Yeah, Brie.
Yep, Brie Larson's in it.
Brandon Ralph was in it. Yeah, Brandon Ralph, Jason Schwartzman, I believe.
Kieran Culkin, he's the best in that movie.
I think Tom Jane was in this. I think Tom Jane and God, I can't think of his name. Clifton Collins, something. He was in the second Boondock Saints movie. They played the vegan police.
Superman,
Yep.
whatever the actor that plays Superman.
Brandon Ralph. Yep.
Yeah. I didn't
But
have
yeah,
this as a least favorite. No, this was a dishonorable mention for me. So I'll go.
I'm out of here.
I'm sorry. I'll go into
Mute
that.
Charlie.
I'm gonna mute his mic again. Just kidding.
I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding, man. But
I know.
I liked the scene. Like I said, the favorite scene for me is Chris Evans and everything when he's supposed to be playing a stuntman and he's going down and skateboarding off that rail, and then all of a sudden just explodes into a million pieces because he actually crashed and burned. I love that. Oh, sweet. I want to read the comics. I never read the comics or anything like that. That's something that
really?
I really want to dive into. Yeah, I only saw the movie, but the movie is really good. I also like the scenes where Scott is actually having ADD and it goes into his brain about how fast his ADD actually is, and he doesn't even realize he's even acting on his ADD at all either. And then I also like the other part where he orders something and Mona
That's what I was gonna say.
just shows up randomly. But I'm gonna let you go on ahead and talk about some of your favorite scenes, Sean, because I know you love this movie too.
Yeah, so this was my number 1. I absolutely love this movie. There is not a movie out that can take the comic book and turn it into a film so perfectly to where, like, because there's definitely, like, you'll see different storylines from different comic books, and when they do the movies on it, like Civil War and stuff, like the poster behind you, Charlie, like they do an okay job when you read in the comic and then go into the movies.
Yeah.
But I know Brian Lee O'Malley, he's the one who wrote the comic, he was on set, I believe, every day with Edgar Wright as they were working on the film. And it's a perfect comic adaptation. If you like video games, like you said, if you like comic books, especially if you're like one of those gamers from like the Nintendo, Super Nintendo era, there are so many like little Easter eggs in this movie for you. Good cast. And another reason why this movie is so good, even though you don't like it, Charlie, is that I hate Michael Cera. I don't like anything he's in.
I hate that prick.
And when I found out he was in this movie, I was like, shit. I was like, this movie is going to suck. Like, I was so, like, upset. And then I saw it, and I was like, Michael Cera's awesome. He's awesome in this movie. He's awesome in this, and This Is the End. Those are the only 2 movies he's good at.
I don't know. I like
because
Superbad.
he's only in it for like 5 minutes. Superbad.
He was a whiny little bitch, that movie. The other one that he's good at is when his evil side is in Youth and Revolt. That came out in 2010 as well.
Yeah,
Like, that part had some funny moments in it. Again, I can go into when I said this is not a least favorite. I had this as a dishonorable mention, so it's a step up. But it's just, I guess I was expecting a lot from it because I didn't know what we're going into. Like, we were planning that weekend to do a double feature, Sean. Like, you, Tim, and I, and a bunch of us were about to do this, Scott Pilgrim, and then The Expendables. Right. And that was all that one week. And then it was like, nah. And then we did then we found out Apex got it, and that's when we did a sneak for it.
Yeah, I think Tim walked out on that sneak because he didn't like it.
But
yeah, I love them. I love the movie. It's really funny. Like the scene, like where he orders something on Amazon and he literally just sits at the door waiting for it. And Wallace is like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I just ordered a package." He's like, "Dude, it's gonna be a few days." And he just walks off. And then just Wallace in general, his roommate is just awesome. Where he like comes home, he's like, "Guess who's drunk?" and just flings the keys at his face. And like because Scott has no money, they just sleep in the same bed. And then Wallace, he's a bit of a slut, so he has a bunch of his boyfriends come over too. So then it's like 4 guys in the bed at one time. And it's just, I don't know, it's really funny. It's just
Anna Kendrick was his sister.
Yeah.
Anna Kendrick played the sister. There's a lot of pretty big. I think the vegan police should have been Nick Frost and Simon Pegg. That's who the vegan police should have been.
That would have been awesome.
That would have been funny.
But yeah, it's really good. I love this movie. I have it on Blu-ray. I bought it the first day it came out. Saw it as soon as I could with the sneak at Apex. I stood when the last comic came out. Me and my brother and his girlfriend, we went to a midnight premiere just to get the comic. So nice. All about Scott Pilgrim.
That's pretty cool. And another thing I want to actually mention about Scott Pilgrim, though, I feel like Michael Cera actually played a perfect person that was actually awkward. It shows, this actually fit the bill for him. And don't get me wrong, he's awkward in every movie, and it seems like he plays the same character in every movie. But with this one, it felt like he was actually acting rather than playing himself. Mm-hmm. It actually showed that he can actually play Scott Pilgrim, where he's actually this awkward kind of guy, but also can actually pull in some girls, though, too, at the same time. So I thought that was actually pretty cool.
Also, the soundtrack is great, too.
Yeah.
For this movie. And they have a video game adaptation that's really good, too. I think they're re-releasing it. If you like those, like Turtles in Time video games, the side-scrolling beat-em-ups.
Let's see. So, Charlie, what do you have?
My number 7. I have the other guys. Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg.
Terrible.
I saw this. I saw this with my brother and my sister. We watched this the night before, like a couple hours before I went to the sneak for Scott Pilgrim. So it was that I saw this at Run the Mills. This was funny. I mean, this is seeing Mark Wahlberg as a comedic role, and it's like him and Mark Wahlberg, and then Will Ferrell just add him and then they're just this. It was overall funny. It is to have The Rock and Sam Jackson as the 2 super cops. I'm like, what are we gonna do? Aim for the bushes, and then hear the narrator's like, I don't know. That shit was crazy. There wasn't a bush in the sight for miles. it's like, just Mark Wahlberg just being funny. Like he learned ballet just so he can like make fun of the other kids for doing it. It's just the chemistry between Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg was just funny, and then some of the action sequences are pretty cool. Like Mark Wahlberg challenges inner John Woo by jumping backwards on a glass table with 2 pistols or whatever. It's just. And like, where do you learn to drive like that? Grand Theft Auto, and then finding out Will Ferrell's character used to be a pimp, and he's like his name is Gator, he's like the kind of like the ugliest guy, and his wife is the Eva Mendes, or it's like all these hot. It's like you're never gonna believe who I lost my virginity to, Heather Locklear. Are you kidding me, man? And it's like. And that's the whole gimmick of like Mark Wahlberg's character, like how he's infamous, like he's known for shooting he shot Derek Jeter because he was guarding that and he should have shot A-Rod, and then it's just This movie's funny. I mean, Michael Keaton was hilarious as the police captain, like him working 2 jobs at Bed Bath and Beyond. I'm like, all right, we got a serial murder. Oh, sorry, that's my other job. But if you live in the district, you need to be careful because of the murder over there. And like quoting TLC, I'm like, come on, Cap, it's not funny anymore. You guys, and when you say creep, you're quoting TLC.
Right. Don't go chasing waterfalls.
Don't go chasing waterfalls. And then Rob Riggle and I think Damon Wayans was the other 2 cops, and they're at a school talk. I'm like, who wants to go for a ride along? All right, somebody pass me that gun. He's like, it's just like, and then the girl's like not sitting in the back seat with no seatbelt. I mean, the movie is just funny. I just remember seeing this and enjoying it. It's just seeing Will. I like Will Ferrell, and I thought he was perfect for this movie. And it's just. And then they're really kind of like making fun of Pulp Fiction, like the 2 guys watching the car or whatever of like this. And then the Will Ferrell passing messages to the mom of Eva Mendes. I'm like, I really don't want to say this. It's really inappropriate. Like just to pass messages to each other. And then, but yeah, I was like, I want to break your back.
Oh, yeah, I remember that part.
I just thought it was funny.
Let's see. I remember going to the theaters for it, and I didn't really care for it the first go round. But once I saw it again on DirecTV, I was laughing my ass off on it. I don't know if it had anything to do with the crowd that I was with or anything like that, with the audience or anything like that, for me not to enjoy it as much. But I ended up laughing. I ended up having a good time just on my own without anybody in the theater or anything like that, in the comfort of my own home. And my other thing is like this. I'm a peacock captain. I need to fly. And then there's also
Captain, I gotta fly.
Right. And then also too, I love this other scene where his girlfriend is actually a ballet dancer, and Mark Wahlberg walks in and goes, "What are you doing? Every single time I come here, you're just shaking your ass for dollars." And he's acting like that the ballet place is a strip club. And he goes, "Look, is it me? I promise. I'll work on it. I'll do something better. You want me to dance? I'll dance. And he goes on ahead and he danced like a ballerina and everything, a ballet dancer. It's just hilarious. And then I also like the other part where they're actually investigating the suspect. And he goes, "Hey, have you guys seen Jersey Boys?" And so he goes on ahead, gives them concert tickets to go see Jersey Boys. And then Will Ferrell goes, "Shit on a stick. They got us again, didn't they?" Yeah, he did.
Water. Yeah, Steve Coogan.
And then there was also the hockey game too.
It's not a bribe. Yeah, it is. Right. You're paying us off not to do our jobs. It's not a bribe.
No, it's not. Here's some hockey tickets. And then all of a sudden they're having a good time. And then Will Ferrell looks at Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg looks at him and goes, "Well, shit. He got us again, didn't he?" He goes, "Yep, they got us again." Goes back. He goes, "Look, we're not falling for any more of your shit anymore.
No,
you're a suspect. We're investigating you. We don't want no more of your fucking sparkling water anymore with the lemon on top. We don't care. We are gonna take you in." He goes, "I got Knicks tickets." So they take the Knicks tickets.
Yeah, and then him losing his gun to get the wooden gun. And then your wooden gun got stolen, so we gotta give you a rape whistle. And then they stole a rape whistle. It's like him losing his guns. Like, what? We were told to do a desk pop. So he shoots his gun at work.
Then don't forget the Prius, though, too. That's also another thing that was actually funny.
Oh, yeah, Dirty Mike and the boys. Dirty Mike and the boys. We're gonna have sex in your Prius. And it's Adam McKay.
So.
Yeah, that was just a funny movie.
It was. It definitely was. It's one of those movies that I can actually pop on for background noise sometimes, and I'll just watch it. It's funny as anything.
I'll have to rewatch it. Like I remember when you were talking about him turning into like his pimp attitude.
Yeah.
And then Dwayne and
Sam Jackson
jumping off the building. Like those are the only 2 things that I remember from it.
Like, or when he gets his gun back from the captain's like, "Gator needs his god back, you punk ass bitch." And he hands over his gun. Like this, it's like nonchalant. He's on the phone. He hands away the gun. And he got poison ivy in the in his dick too. That's where he met. That's where he met Evan Mendes was his nurse or whatever.
All right, so I'm gonna kick it back over to Sean. What was yours?
Number 7, I have The Kids Are All Right. It's with Julianne Moore, Annette Bening, I think.
Benning
and,
or something.
Yeah, Benning and Mark Ruffalo. It's about a couple, lesbian couple, and they use the same sperm donor to have kids, and then the kids want to meet their biological father. Enters Mark Ruffalo. And it's kind of just like, you don't really see this take very often. I can't think of another movie really like it, to where it's like this family dynamic. It's pretty funny, has some touching moments, but it's just something different. I'm always looking for something new that has like a different story to it, something that's not redone or remade, and I think it's pretty good.
Okay, I haven't seen that one, so I'm gonna have to put that one on my list too.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's another like indie movie. If you like those awkward laughs, that's what's more of what it is. It's not like your physical comedy or anything. It's just like little one-liners here and there.
What's that called?
It's called The Kids Are All Right. It's on Peacock for free if you guys are interested in.
I have the Peacock network. I got it from my Xfinity TV. I have that program. So
Okay, I do too.
I think 2010 had a lot of Oscar movies, and I think that was one of them.
Yeah, it might have been nominated for screenplay. I can't remember though. But like I said, I'm always looking. Like, I like those indie movies. I like the different stories, not just like remakes of books and stuff. So I try to always look for something kind of special. And I remember this sticking out to me when Melissa and I watched it. So
okay,
put it on the list.
Okay. So my number 7, I actually have Ben Affleck's movie, The Town.
Oh, I have that much higher.
And this is actually one of my favorite movies to watch. I love heist movies. I love things that has to do with bank robbing and things like that. And yeah, it's a love story, but underneath the love story and everything, it goes under manipulation about how he's manipulating this one girl, and he falls in love with her during this bank heist and everything. But, it goes to show that, that people are not who they are underneath. There's something more to them. But I also like the fact with Jeremy Renner's character and things like that about the level of acting he did. And his Boston accent is spot on and a lot better than Ben Affleck's Boston accent. And the reason for that is because of the fact that Jeremy Renner actually spent time in prison with the other criminals and everything, so the way he can get that Boston accent down to a T, and it works. I also liked the different costumes that they actually had to use when they were robbing the bank. You actually have the nun outfits, you have the skull outfits. Yeah. You also have this FBI agent that's actually trying to investigate them, and they're thinking. Yep. As a matter of fact, that was actually true about the south end of Boston and everything being the Irish part of the town and everything, and that's actually where it actually takes place, is in Southie. And I definitely have to say that they actually got everything to a T on that. And they're also investigating in that part of the town because that's actually where Ben Affleck's characters are from and things like that. I thought it was really good. I like the investigations. I love when they're trying to put things together. And, it's an all-around good action flick, and also, too, a slow burn type of film, too, if you actually think about it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I had this much higher on my list. This is my number 3 of the year. This movie was just so good. I saw this was a sneak I went to. I watched this one. It was like, first I saw Church, like, okay, this might be kind of cool. And then I think one of the trailers had one of Eminem's songs to it. I'm like, oh, that fit well with the trailer. I'm like, okay, I got to watch this movie. And I thought like Blake Lively was great in it as I think Jeremy Renner's sister or whatever show. So you didn't recognize her that much. This definitely had a Heat vibe to it. This definitely felt like Heat-ish. Because I personally like this better than Heat. But that was just me, because I think it just got that vibe to it, like, like this everything about it. But it was entertaining. when them robbing everything was cool, and then that the big thing down at the baseball stadium. I thought that whole sequence was cool, and how Ben Affleck's character doesn't kill people until he finds out what really happened to how his boss has set him up. I'm like, hey, somebody's hurt, and he just kills the guy, and then he shoots Pete Postlewaite. He's like, tell my mother I said hi. And he shoots the guy shoots the Pete Postlewaite character in the dick countless times. I'm like, damn, Ben Affleck.
Damn, Ben. He was definitely edgy on that.
He was good. The whole movie was good. It was very entertaining. Anytime it's on, I watch it. It's just entertaining, and and this came out in September too, and this was like a pretty big hit for Ben Affleck.
Yeah, I really liked it too. I liked the story. I thought it was good. The acting was really good. Kept me interested. Anytime you can lose yourself in a movie for 2 hours, I mean,
especially something of this as a slow burn, but it kept you intrigued the whole way too. Like, you want to know,
right?
Are they gonna get away with this stuff? Is Ben Affleck gonna live?
Yeah.
And then of course Jeremy Renner going out like that, and he didn't go out like he went out with a fight, to be honest.
Yeah. Matter of fact, you and I both talked about slow burn movies, Charlie, when it came down to the Little Things movie. And I don't mind slow burn movies as long as it actually leads to something and they let that tension go. Yeah. And in this movie, boy, do they let that tension go, especially in that Red Sox and Fenway Park and in that stadium and everything. And I was thinking to myself whenever they were planning this whole entire thing, I'm like, there's no way they can make it out of there because of how big the security is.
Yeah.
And that's just me thinking realistically, because I've actually been down that way. I've seen the security. I've seen the way it's actually laid out and stuff like that. I'm like, there's no way that they can pull this off. Just the four of them. They need more guys than just the four of them to actually pull that robbery off. But I definitely loved it. I definitely loved that scene and everything. It was really good. Talk about fighting Irish. So I thought it was good.
What's the scene where Ben comes in? He's like, "Do you want to go beat someone up?" Or what does he say? And Jeremy Renner's character is like,
"Okay, I'm going to need your help. You can't explain why. We're going to do. All right, who's driving or something?" I think it was something of that nature, and they go beat up the Claire's ex-boyfriends or whatever. That sequence was just like, who's driving?
Yeah, he goes, I need your help. I can't explain why. I just need you to help me. And he goes, yeah, I just want to know, what car are we taking?
I think it was that, yeah.
And I actually made a meme of that where it was actually the Batmobile from Batman versus Superman.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I actually
taking that one.
So I thought that movie was really good. Yeah. So Charlie, I'm going to kick it back over to you for your number 7.
My number 6 is
number 6.
It's a kid movie, but it's a great one. Despicable Me. I love this movie. There's the one of Steve Carell, the Minions. I'm like, when I heard a movie came out, I'm like, okay. And when Apex, we had it at Apex, and Ashton and Ryan Sickle, they go in their breaks and like watch the sequence. So I went in with them and watched this one sequence. I'm like, all right, I gotta watch this movie because the sequences had me laughing my ass off. It was like, I don't like kid movies. This was the exception. I mean, Steve Carell was hilarious as Gru. The Minions are the best part. But then you had Jason Segel play Vector, and all he does is like, "Oh, my name's Vector." Oh yeah, and he's doing pelvic thrust all the time. I mean, it's just the Minions were so funny. Like it's like there are so many of them. Like the names, how each one's got names, like Kevin, Dave. Not cool. Like they're celebrating. They're gonna rob something. He shoots a rocket launcher and it blows all of them up. And then they're fine. And I'm like, Dave, not cool. Or like they're like and then the little girls are so cool too. But when Gru's going in to meet with Miss Hattie, who's voiced by Kristen Wiig, she's like they're typing up his bio on the fly, and then they're like picking, okay, what is the next one? And then eventually they start fighting each other on the keyboard, and then so the one meaning grabs the other and smacks his face on the keyboard. This movie is like I said, I was like, I watched this was hilarious, and they get funnier as they progress. I mean, my favorite one is the third one that just came out like in 2017 because you had Trey Parker, who I've very known from South Park. he voiced
Yeah.
a character called Balthazar Brat, and he's like he's like a former child star, and he's got the whole Michael Jackson like jumpsuit. He's got the black hair, and he's moonwalking all the time, blowing bubbles. I'm like, oh, and he's like, it's definitely him because he sounds a lot like Randy Marsh in that movie. It's like that one's hilarious. Like, and they're having we need to have a dance fight, so the two of them have the dance fight. It's just these movies are just hysterical, and it's just they're mindless. I mean, or his Gru punch like walking in slow motion to save the girls, like nonchalant punching the shark. What? He just punched my shark. This movie is just hysterical. I was like, I have them in 4K because these movies are just great. And then the second one was hilarious. Is Kristen Wiig as Lucy, and she's like I mean, like when you first meet her, like lipstick taser, and then it's just random. Like, God, I hate that chicken, or just it's just so random. But the minions are the best part. That's why it's my number 6.
They do a Minions movie.
They did, and then there's a sequel.
Okay.
So the Minions the Minions movie was a prequel to the very first Despicable Me. And at the end of that first one, you see a young Gru with his freeze ray, and he's a kid Gru. So the Minions like, yay! So the sequel that was supposed to be out last summer in 2020 comes out in 2021. It's The Rise of Gru, and you see, and it looks hysterical. It's like Gru's trying to steal something, and he finally steals it. So the Minion trades the thing he stole for tickets to something. You trade my thing? Yeah. But it's like, there's a sequel Minion called The Rise of Gru, and he's like, yeah, and it looks hysterical.
Yes, remember I saw it in theaters, but I don't know. It didn't grab me. Like, it was fine, I guess, but
yeah,
I just never
I
got
just
into
remember
it.
watching like parts of it during my breaks, like going in with Ashton and Ryan, watching part of it, and I'm like, okay, I'm sold on this movie because they're like, dude, man, this movie's awesome.
Like, it's one of those things to where, like, I do enjoy kids movies,
Yeah,
but I wonder if it's because from working at the theater and just knowing how busy it is, if I'm just like, I fucking hate kids movies. Like,
I feel
that one, I just remember that one being so busy, and I don't know if that like dampened my perspective on it, but
I absolutely hate kid movies. I absolutely hate kid movies.
Oh, I
watch them occasionally if they look like they might be interesting. Like the Shrek movies are not kid. Like they're PG, but they're for more adults. Like it depends on the kid movie. If it's something like, oh no, I'm not watching. Like me, I'm a huge SpongeBob fan. I'm looking for a new SpongeBob movie because SpongeBob's got that adult humor in it. Like, I'm gonna watch this new one. I mean, and then like I said, SpongeBob for me is like it's just funnier now as an adult because I'm like, I get a lot of the references in it now. But like, it depends on the kid movie. If it's like something like that, I'm like, no, that's stupid. But like I said, I always hate working when we had kid movies because they would be the worst. But it depends on the movie. But Despicable Me just hit me, and it was just funny, and that's why it's my number 6.
Yeah, for me, it didn't really grab me. I love kid movies. It just didn't connect with me or anything like that. But, everybody's taste and stuff is different and things like that when it comes down to humor and things like that. For me, it just didn't click. I mean, I wanted to like it and stuff like that. But I think if I go back and revisit it now, I might actually like it. It's just that I haven't seen it since it was released in 2010. So it might actually have aged well and everything to the point where I'm like, okay, I haven't seen it in such a long time. Let me go back and do a revisit, a rewatch, and see if I would actually like it.
I mean,
and then show it to the kids to see if maybe I'll watch it with the kids sometime in the upcoming week.
And you don't even recognize Russell Brand voices the old I think his partner, he's an elderly guy, and you don't hear, and it's Russell Brand, and then Julie Andrews plays as his mom, and she like absolutely hates Gru, like bashing him every second she gets. And she loves the kids though. And then, like I said, the sequels are a lot are funnier too. They're all funny, but I think the third one for me is when Gru and Drew both are Gru's long lost brother, voiced by Steve Carell, so they both voice the same character. But really, I was psyched for the third one mainly is because of Trey Parker, because I love South Park, and his movies he directs are hysterical, and he's just got that niche for me, and he absolutely was perfect. He's like definitely he's a South Park guy in that movie. All right.
My number 6, I have The Expendables.
That's my number 4.
Really good, just action movie. If you like action movies, I mean, this is where it's at. It has a all-star cast. So I watch a lot of anime, and there's something called fan service, to where it's just lewd shots of different female anime characters. It's like, if you ever seen Food Wars, they eat the food, their clothes pop off. That's fan service. What I'm getting at is The Expendables is fan service for action buffs.
Yeah,
where big explosions, big guns, everyone gets their little scene that makes them shine. But yeah, really good. I'm sure you guys probably enjoyed this movie as well. I know Charlie and I watched this together.
We got a good some cool history on that. I was like, when I first heard of this movie, I was like, because you and I were like, we were like good buds at the time, and because we found out we were huge Stallone fans. You, me, and Tim we were huge Stallone fans. When I found out Stallone, Jason Statham, and Jet Li all in the same movie, we were immediately sold in it. And we watched and then we were like, because we knew Apex wasn't going to get this movie because we typically don't get that type of movie, and we were like, so so you and Tim were upstairs, and you're telling me, all right, mandate. We all write mandate for because this is the first movie I saw outside of work with you guys. Was this movie? We went to Annapolis to see it, and we were making predictions. And it was a good bunch of us. I think it was Jeremy, Logan, Tim, Shane, you, myself. There might have been somebody else. I can't remember. It was a big bunch of us. All go, and we were predicting, what did we expect to see happen in this movie? I said Jet Li snapping some guy's neck with his legs. He did that. And then, and that was like, this nonchalant, because Jet Li was just awesome in that movie. And then Jason Statham, of course, I was a huge fan of his, but the sequence where he beats up all the basketball guys, I mean, like, and then he deflates the basketball. I was like, I'll deflate your balls, friend, next time I come back. But this movie was just so good. It's definitely fan service, and seeing Dolph Lundgren, I'm like, warning shot. Oh, aimed a little low, and he just blew the whole guy's body off with the grenade launcher. And then the brief appearance by Bruce Willis and Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm like, so the two Schwarzenegger and Stallone are going off their little rivalry. I'm like, and then I think your favorite line was, "You two aren't going to start sucking each other's dick, are you?" Yeah. And that weird laugh of this. And I was like, all right, let's get down to business or whatever. Like, well, I'm in a church, so you call me Mr. Church. It's just like this. It's just from like the action sequences. They were shot great in this movie. I mean, like from the car chase sequence to the whole gimmick of I need more money because I'm smaller. I'm like, get out there. Why? You're smaller. And this Jet Li just randomly has a machine gun, pulls it out, and starts shooting the two cars that set them for the ambush. I mean, but the biggest sequence was the sequence where they take out the entire army. I mean, those four guys take out an entire army. I'm like, there's no way this realistically can happen. But these guys are just so good. And then Terry Crews with the double-A shotgun. I'm like, you guys better remember this shit at Christmas. It's like, damn, that thing's loud. Stallone actually broke his back in that movie, filming that movie. It was the sequence where he's fighting Steve Austin, and Steve Austin kind of spears him into the back, and then Stallone's like sitting there like that. That's where he broke his back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yep. He had to have like a metal something on his spine because he broke something from shooting that sequence, and that was the sequence that they kind of kept in there where him kind of looking kind of like woozy or whatever. It was that sequence where he broke his back.
Was that early in production?
I'm not sure. I don't know the full details of that, but I remember that he broke his back on that. But yeah, I had that as my number 4. I mean, I had to have that movie in there. It's just I remember it, and it was just so good. I'm like, and of course the sequence where Stallone saves Jason Statham after he shoots him at the top of the head. I'm like, what? You could have killed me. You're welcome. I mean, Statham was hilarious in this movie. He was like very like Jason Statham. And he's like using knives or like shooting. He's like shooting guns and then using the knives or whatever. He didn't do much of the hand to hand combat besides beating up the basketball players. But this movie was just awesome.
But yeah, I remember going to the movie theaters and seeing it.
Yeah, the cool thing. Yeah, the cool thing because like the hype for this movie was huge. Because earlier on, it looked like, oh, this movie's coming out. It was very low hype. This movie's not going to do well. And then some guy created a fake fan trailer, and it was like it had the MPA logo, and it's just telling people why we need to see this movie in theaters. Because like we need to see this movie in theaters because that's what we need to do. Because if this movie loses to Julia Roberts' Eat, Pray, Love in the box office, we don't deserve to be men or whatever. It's just getting you hyped for it. And this movie made over 100, I think it was $117 million opening weekend for an R-rated movie. This movie dominated the box office. It's like, yup.
Yeah.
Which was really cool to see. And again,
that's what made me excited, though.
Yeah.
That's what made me excited, though, was seeing, Arnold in this. Well, not Arnold, because he was actually governor during that time, but just getting excited because, right. But I liked seeing Bruce Willis. I liked seeing Sylvester Stallone. I liked seeing all of our old action buddies in this film together and everything for the very first time, because that's actually what you're anticipated for, is that. Jet Li being in it, Jason Statham being in it, and things like that. That's actually what I went to go and see the movie for. And it's just one of those fun action movies that you could just pop some popcorn in your mouth and have a good time and not have to worry about anything. And it's just a fun and good time with your buddies and just watching this film.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, I mean, it was just a great movie. That's why it's my number 4.
And that's what we did. We got a bunch of guys together and we went and saw it.
We went to go see it. And a lot of people that would be at Apex, I saw in the theater that day. We went to go see it. I mean, it's like, and then just getting all these guys in it to be in it, like Schwarzenegger for 5 minutes. Stallone and Schwarzenegger in the same movie. I mean, I'm in. I mean, I was in with Jason Statham and Jet Li. It was with Stallone. I mean, I was sold. And it was in the year of the team-based action movies. The A-Team, The Loser, this movie. I mean, it was just the epitome of 2010. It was the big squad-based action movies, and it did what it had to do.
What about you, John?
Okay, so for my number 6, I actually have The Book of Eli with Denzel Washington in it.
It's an honorable mention.
The reason why I like this movie, I like apocalyptic type of style movies. It kind of has that Mad Max kind of flavor to it. We don't know what's going on in this film or what it's about just yet at the very beginning. And then he goes into this it's kind of like a Western film set in an apocalyptic kind of world, if you actually think about it, especially when he goes into the saloon, when Denzel Washington goes into the saloon. And then he also has an old time iPod as well that's really out of date, and he only listens to select songs and things like that. But he goes in the saloon asking for something, and then all of a sudden he has this machete. Next thing you know, he starts cutting people up with the machete. The stunt work was really good, and then once you get into the twist at the end, that's just completely mind blowing because you don't expect it. Was really good.
Yeah. It made the action scene, like I said, this is an honorable mention for me, so I can go into more when we get into that. But the action sequences were just awesome in this. Like, I mean, especially that twist at the end when you realize, and I'm like, holy crap, he was able to do all of this. He's like Daredevil, but in a post-apocalyptic world, it sets.
Definitely.
I mean, he beat up those guys in the bar like nonchalant, and then it had like Gary Oldman was perfect as the villain in this, and then you had a kind of young Mila Kunis in this as well.
True.
But yeah, this was a good movie. I remember going in and like watching like clips of I didn't see this in theaters. I watched it on DVD, but I remember Apex had it. It came out like in February, and I was like, I went in during one of my breaks and watched the sequence of it, and I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought it was really intense. I liked the cinematography on it. Like, I thought it was shot really cool. Yeah. Just like the colors and everything. Denzel, of course, great actor. So, yeah, it was really good. Reminded me I'll steal this when my friend said this before, or we're talking about movies from 2010 that remind me of Fallout. Like if you ever played those Fallout games,
right? It does remind you of Fallout.
So being a big gamer, like anything that I can relate to that makes me more invested into it. So yeah, really good movie. I liked it a lot.
All right. So now we're moving into our number 5.
All right. My number 5 is the raunchy comedy Hot Tub Time Machine. This movie is awesome. It was just one of those movies that, like, I saw it came over during my spring break, and my dad was like, we were telling him about it. He's like, oh, this might be kind of cool. But once he found out my dad was a huge John Cusack fan. He loved
Doesn't do a bad movie.
No. Once he found out John Cusack was in this movie, he was like, all right, we're going to go see this. So we saw it in the theater. This movie is hysterical. Like, it had, like, it's a kind of parody of all the old Back to the Future kind of movies other than that. But this movie was hysterical from the get-go. Like, you just know, like, all the people in it. And, like, just from the chemistry between everybody is, like, and that, especially when they go back in time, I'm like, oh, yeah. Like, oh, you were going back to the hotel. I'm like, oh, man, this hotel sucks. And you see Biff as the guy, and he's like, he lost an arm, and we don't know how he lost the arm. He's just very grumpy, and then you go in and pull out the drawer, and it has the words "Adam sucks, cocks and dicks." He's like, and then they go into the hot tub, like, hey, come on, man, or like this Rob Corddry just go on. It's like, yeah, I want prostitutes to come to hang out with us. I'm paraphrasing there because I'm not saying the quote because it's pretty bad. But and then they go to the hot tub. Come on, man! It's called Male Bonnie. Have you not seen Wild Hogs? And then the quotes like Great White Buffalo. What are you guys doing? Great White Buffalo. Great White Buffalo. And then when they go back in time and see themselves and Chevy Chase, it's just seeing their younger selves having to do this stuff. Like Billy Zabka from The Karate Kid was in this movie. He played the douchey rich guy that was Ben Amalek's. Like, well, man, you don't know the future. But the funniest part is the will it happen, won't happen, is when you see the bellhop, Biff, like, all right, he's in these very precarious positions. His arm's stuck in the elevator. Is this the part where he's going to lose the arm? Is this where he's going to lose the arm? I'm like, okay, yeah, here we go. Oh, damn it, man. This keeps happening. I'm going to have to cut it off myself. I mean, and then the guy that's giving Rob Corddry a lot of shit is Bucky from the Winter Soldier, like from Captain America, like Sebastian Stan. He's like, come on. And then this the twist when you find out that Rob Corddry was the father of Clark Duke's character. Oh my God, I'm Adam's father. And it's like he has to do Adam's sister to do it. I'm like, Shia LaBeouf. Oh, it's everywhere.
And then remember when remember also too whenever he I forgot the other guy, but he has to call the girl his wife up at an early age.
He has to call at an early age. Like you're peeping Donnie, man. Like you say, she's my I'm her father. I'm like, yeah, go beep yourself, man. Or like, and it's just like, and then it's this Lizzie Chaplin was the second love interest to Adam because the Great White Buffalo was into her. It's like, oh, it's Poison. I love Poison. And like, yeah, well, and then he's like, oh, yep. And then they have to do like everything in order, like the butterfly effect. If you change something in the future, like past affects your future. Like, yep, you got to break up with her. I'm like, yeah, you get fat, you little bitch. She's like, I don't get fat. And she stabs him in the eye. And he's like, I'm gonna take some shrooms, man. And then it's like, and then the irony is how he loses the arm was a car hits it. The most trivial thing. That's how he loses the arm. And then of course Rob Corddry, and then the squirrel is like, oh look, a squirrel, and then he just pukes on the squirrel, and then the squirrel comes back at him like, oh yep, it's the drive. This is the John Elway drive. He's gonna score the touchdown. What is the squirrel doing down there? What are you talking about? And the squirrel ruins the game. And then the funniest part for me is when Lou goes back and changes time. He changes. He comes up with Google, calls it Lugal. I'm like, we could print out some Lugal maps for you. It's like, oh man, yeah, I went back and changed the time, and like, so what? Second question: do I give a fuck? No. And then it's like, oh man, I'm just bummed that the band got broken up. What band? He was a big Motley Crue fan, so he changed it to Motley Lou. And you see him perform. This movie is hysterical. I mean, it's just one of those classic, like, and it's just a different take on the '90s fan. And it's like, what color is Michael Jackson? He's black. Ah! This was just a funny movie, and it's just like something I remember. The sequel sucked. This movie is just hilarious, though. And it had to be my number 5 because I anytime this movie's on, I'm watching it because it's just so funny.
Yeah, I remember seeing it. I remember renting it, but I enjoyed it. But I don't really remember anything like super vivid from it.
Yeah, this movie was just quotable, and we showed this to my uncle, and my uncle was like, "Oh my god!" But yeah, I just remember my dad, my brother, and I went to see. We saw it over the Easter, spring break for me from high school, and it's like we watched this, and we just love this movie. It was just so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Great cast, though.
For my number 5, I have How to Train Your Dragon. I really like this movie. It's about a boy who, I guess, they live on this mountain and they capture dragons and they train them to ride them and stuff. And that's not how it is. It's they fight. They capture them and they fight them. That's what it is. That's how the other ones are. It's like 2 and 3. Right. I was jumping ahead of the series because the series is so good. But yeah, the first one, they attack dragons, but hiccup, they end up wounding one, which is like the Night Fury, which is the strongest of the dragons, and he ends up befriending it, trains it, and then that brings on a whole thing to where everyone from the village has their own pet dragon now. Really good kids movie. I think it's good for adults too. Yeah, I highly recommend it. It's really fun, just a good time for all ages. And yeah, I would definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. But I think it's kind of hard not to. Have you guys seen that movie?
I have not.
Same.
I know King Leonidas. I know Gerard Butler's voiced his dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Gerard Butler's the dad. I forget the actor's name, but he's
Dave
in.
Rochelle.
Yeah, he's the main guy. Jonah Hill, is he in it? He might play one. He might play one of the side characters.
It's either him or it's McLovin.
Play a voice in it, if I'm not mistaken.
What was that?
I think he did play one of the voices in it, if I'm not mistaken.
But yeah, it's a really good movie. It's a good series. I think there's like 3 or 4 of them.
I think 3 right now. I haven't heard about a 4th yet. Probably will.
But yeah, it's really dope. I would check it out if you like dragons or like kids movies.
So let's see here. I actually had the other guys as my number 5, so that skips me. So then I guess they're number 4s.
Okay. My number 4, 3, and 2. I'll get to 2, because we already mentioned the losers, but I'll go more in depth in that for number 2. But my number 4 movie was The Expendables, and I already talked a lot about that. It was just a great movie. And then my number 3 was The Town.
Okay, so
yeah, I thought it was a great movie.
Yeah, number 4, I had The Losers. Yeah. So I can go to 3. I had another kids movie, Toy Story 3.
Oh yeah, I
forgot about that.
I grew up with Toy Story. Like I was like at that right age when the first one came out. So the third one, it picks up with Andy. His toys get donated to a daycare, and the toys have to deal with that, and they're trying to find their way back to Andy. Really good. To me, if there's 2 parts in the end, there's at the climax and then at the very end, that if you do not tear up, I feel like you're dead inside. Because I don't know, it tugged at my heartstrings to when the lights came on. I'm just like clearing my face off real quick to walk out of the theater as fast as I could. I noticed a lot of other adults were doing that as well. But yeah, I thought it's really good. It's crazy how a movie that's been around since I was a kid and now I'm an adult and it still is relevant. And it just takes you back. I mean,
I know the ending. I think I've seen it. For me, it takes like I said, like movies that I think would make you cry. I didn't. Like I'm not dead inside.
You're just
It's
dead
just like
inside.
He's a serial
like I
killer.
said, I was close on a Star when I saw A Star Is Born. I was close. My mom and my sister were bawling. Like I was close because that movie hit your heartstrings.
Yeah.
Especially that ending. That was and that like you said, I don't like those type of movies. But like I said, once I kept seeing the trailer, like, all right, I'm gonna watch it. I saw this in the theaters, The Star Is Born. I loved it. I thought I got robbed at the Oscars.
Good soundtrack.
Great. I mean, Bradley Cooper, like I said, for digesting here, this came out in 2018 or 19, whatever. But Bradley Cooper took voicing lessons to do this. Like he worked on this movie for years to like get his voice. That was anytime he sung, that was him.
Yeah.
And like I said, I thought he was great. Lady Gaga was fantastic in it. She should have won something. The movie should have gotten a lot more than what really won. But I really know the true story then because the Fox DC reviewer I listened to, he was pissed after how much hard work he put into this, and it only get like best song. I mean, yeah. But anyway, I know of Toy Story 3, and like I said, various movies I thought I would cry in, and I just don't.
Did you see the other Toy Stories, Charlie?
Yeah, I saw 1 and 2, and I watched 4.
So you just skipped 3?
I haven't seen. I will get to 3.
Come on, man.
I watched 4 because of Duke Kaboom. That's why I watched it, because of Keanu Reeves' character is the Canadian stunt devil. Kaboom! Like I thought he was so hilarious, and of course, Key and Peele are fantastic as Ducky and Lucky, the two toys stuck at the. You got to win these, and then they're like, "All right, we're gonna attack the granny." Like every single plan is them killing the granny. But yeah, I'll have to watch 3 at some point. It's just I've seen 1 and 2. I saw the 2 in theaters with my dad, and then with my brother, and then didn't see 3, and I watched 4 at home.
Let's see. I watched 3. I remember just watching it in my room instead because I didn't get around to watching it in the theaters or anything like that. But I do remember tearing up at the end of the movie and everything because it pulls on your heartstrings about a boy that winds up becoming a child that's a child and then becoming a man and having to put away childish things so that adventure with your toys is no longer relevant anymore because you don't need them anymore. And then you're trying to pass those toys on to somebody else and have let your toys have those memories with someone else like you had. And you hope that that person will actually take good care of those toys like you did and have a good time on different adventures that you went on with those toys. So that was something that I thought that really tugged on my heartstrings and everything. I'm still saying that Charlie's a serial killer because he didn't cry during that movie or and skipped it.
Got Dexter Jr. over here.
Let's see.
Tara, I don't know.
How do you skip?
Exactly.
Yeah, again, how can I skip 3? I know. I don't know. At the time when this came out, I had a lot of stuff on my mind. I don't remember. It's like I said, this movie came out 10 years ago. I know I haven't seen it, but I know the ending. I know what happens. I just haven't gotten around to it. I'm sorry. I had a lot of stuff on my mind.
All right, so my number 3, I'm actually going to go horror with this, and it's a movie called Devil.
Oh,
I haven't seen it. I know the poster.
I liked it. To be honest with you, I liked it because of the fact it's in a one-room set. It's where basically murders are actually happening in this elevator, and they believe that the devil is actually making someone kill somebody. So you're actually speculating on who you think the devil actually is and everything. And I like the fact that it's set in one area and it's set in an elevator. And I'm just a sucker for those type of movies. And that's why I like this movie is because of the fact it's set in one set. And also, too, while they're dealing with that stuff, the other people inside the office building are actually trying to get to the elevators to actually help these people stuck in the elevators. But also, too, they're actually diving into their past and everything too. On each character, you're actually knowing what those characters are, why those characters are actually being killed in that elevator for. So you don't even know why the devil's even after some of them until they actually explain some of the background of it. And the plot twist at the end was really good. So that's why I really like the movie The Devil.
I think I've seen parts of it. I've either watched it or I've seen parts of it because I when you mentioned the elevator and the people dying one by one, I was like, okay, that does sound familiar.
I remember the trailer. I think it might have during the Scott Pilgrim sneak when they showed the trailer, and then I'm like, okay, and then you see the name written by M. Night Shyamalan. The whole audience was like, oh, and I think it was during the sneak. I think Katie walked in there, was like, hey guys, you guys need to keep it quiet. I think it was Brian. It was like, no, it was like Brian Ellison. It was like, boo.
Oh, really?
To be honest with
that,
you,
he was like, oh. He was going boo when he saw M. Night Shyamalan. God, people were chanting. My dad was sitting there laughing because he thought that was hysterical. It was during, I think it was the Scott Pilgrim sneak. It was because this movie came out like came out in August or something or September. Because I remember it, I was like, I didn't want to watch it because I did not like M. Night Shyamalan. And it was like everybody was like boo.
I give it a chance. I didn't really care for M. Night. Right, it's fine, but no, I didn't really care for M. Night until recently. Like I said, I used to be a big fan of his, but once I saw this, I was like iffy with it. But at that same time, I'm like, this actually looks kind of good. So I was like, I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna hold my anticipation level at a medium, so that way I'm not like really going into this film being negative. I mean, being really positive with it, and I wound up liking it. So that's actually my number 3. So what do you guys have for your number 2? Yep.
All right. My number 2. Oh, Sean, go ahead.
Oh, no. Sorry. I was writing down The Devil so I can check it out.
My number 2 was The Losers. I just love this movie. We talked about it earlier, but everything about this movie was just awesome for me. It's like you got a great cast. Like the opening sequence was hilarious when they're playing like the card game. And I'm like, all right, and then they're all pulling their guns in there. And then he's like, or you first starts out, you see the American flag. Then you see Jensen like, I don't know if I want to do this. And he sees the 2 dinosaurs. Oh, hey, the dinosaur was like, and he's like having them hump each other or whatever. And that's how you meet Chris Evans' character. That's how you knew what his character was. And then they're playing the card game. They're all pulling their guns in. And then you see Rogue come out with the knife. And he puts that down there. And he puts out another knife. All right, I'll raise you that. You don't want to do that. You really don't. And then it's like, losers, let's go. And that's when they storm the building. I'm like, hey guys, we're going to take on, hey, I guess we're doing 50 guys with AKs. And then there's this Chris Evans was the highlight of the movie for me. His name is Jensen. And it's like the whole gimmick with, the petunias. Oh damn, they're playing the marigolds. These are the marigolds.
Some hard motherfuckers and shit.
And then the plot twist in it when you find out that the girl wasn't who she says she is, and then they show up and they're all pointing their guns. And he goes, and then the random dialogue or the banter between them like kind of sounds like a comic book. It's like, where's your gun, Jensen? It's in the van. What's it doing there? I don't know. Just hanging out. And then he gets shot and it's like, be easy, Cougar. But it's just, this movie just for me is just, I just love this movie. And just this how because I remember G4 was around when this movie came out when when the reviewers Chris Gore, he always has skip it, rent it, buy it. He did The Losers and he says buy it. Just how and then it shows the sequence where Cougar shoots Wade on the motorcycle. Motorcycle goes crashing into the airplane. Airplane blows up. Rogue gets blown up. And then you see this and you see the colonel Jeffrey Dean Morgan is standing there like fantastic. It's just and then it's like all the just the randomness of like the Jason Patrick character, like you're not really gonna shoot me, and he shoots him. Want to try that again? I mean, I was really hoping they'd do a sequel because the comic goes on, and then the funniest part was the ending where they're actually at the game. I'm like, who would bet money? Who would you get to bet money on this game? And then Zoe sat down and raises her hand. This movie was just awesome. That's why I had to have it as my number 2.
Okay,
yeah, it's really good. My number 2, I have Inception.
Okay, that's actually my number 1. So I'm gonna tag on with you.
Yeah, I mean, all-star cast: Leonardo DiCaprio, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Elliot Page, Tom Hardy, Ken Wannabe, Cillian Murphy. Awesome story where you go inside people's heads to try to convince them to do things. Shot really well. I mean, what's not to like about this movie?
Nothing. This is my first employee sneak at Apex with this movie. I love this movie. This is my number 1. When I go to one, I can focus on some more of it too. But what the dish of it. this movie, like I said, I saw the first two trailers, kind of weird. I'm like, okay, but once I watched the trailer number 3 for this, and then you get to learn more about the story. And then I think the trailers like starts with him getting washed up on the beach, and you see him, and then it has the music in the background by Hans Zimmer, and then how it picks up, and he's like, and then the music picks up when he's like, this last job, that's how I get there, that's how I get home, and it's just because the trailer doesn't show you everything, which was fantastic because that's how Christopher Nolan does it. But once you watch this movie, you're so intense. I'm like, are they gonna do this? And then the ending. It's so it's so diversive. I'm like, is he a dream? Is he that? I mean, it was like we knew it was a good movie, Sean, because we were immediately talking about it after the movie. I'm like, I gotta take Melissa to see this movie. I mean, we're like, I don't know how many times I stayed after work to watch this movie. Like either during my breaks, I would go in and see it. I mean, I went into this so many times. I mean, I love this movie. I mean, I've done. Again, I can go on more when we talk about number 1 because there's some more stuff about it. But I just love this movie.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go into more detail and everything, so that way you can just have the 4 and everything, Charlie, too. But the reason why I love Inception because I like the idea of a dream inside of a dream. You don't know if it's actually a dream or if it's actually real life. Stuff like that. You have Joseph Gordon-Levitt. You have Tom Hardy in this movie. You have Leonardo DiCaprio in this movie. You have an all-out cast in this movie, and Hans Zimmer doing the score for this is actually phenomenal. This is where Christopher Nolan actually shines whenever it comes down to his original work. And my favorite score for this movie is actually a score called Time. And I've loved the whole entire collapsing of the buildings and stuff like that in this dream sequence and stuff like that. I really like that because we haven't seen that kind of style before. And it just goes to show you how wild our imagination can be whenever we're actually sleeping. And also, too, it goes to show the originality that Christopher Nolan actually has when it comes down to his own original line of work. And like I said, the score for Time is just phenomenal. I listen to it every single time I actually get a chance to on YouTube, just to actually have some relaxation because I like listening to scores sometimes rather than podcasts and stuff like that when I'm going to sleep. And for me, that's actually one of my favorite things to actually listen to, and also as well as to watch. So that's why I actually have Inception as my number 1. And also too, if it wasn't for Inception, we probably wouldn't have that great opening scene like we have for Doctor Strange with the collapsing of the buildings for that as well. So it had a very cool Inception kind of vibe to that opening scene. So if it wasn't for Inception, we probably wouldn't have gotten what we got in Doctor Strange.
It was a very ambitious movie, and it paid off tremendously. This movie made a ton of money, and that's what meant that's what's got because this Christopher Nolan was on the high end of he just did The Dark Knight, and he was already on the high end of it. And then he did this movie, and he just doubled what The Dark Knight did. I mean, it's like not in terms of box office, but in terms of quality, because he shows you that Christopher Nolan can do both. He can do a comic book movie, do it well, and he can do this movie, come up with this idea, and like just flawlessly go through it. I mean, like I said, I'll go into more in a bit.
I mean, it's original, original idea, and he shoots it perfectly. It's like one of the perfect movie. Like it's really good.
It set up Tom Hardy's bomb.
Definitely. And Rossi, go on and check that out. I think you would like it. I think it might be right up your alley, to be honest with you. So my number 2 is actually a Mark Wahlberg film, and it also stars Christian Bale as the co-star. And that movie is The Fighter.
It's really good.
This is my favorite movie. Hold on, I'm frozen.
Yeah, I've seen The Fighter. It's one of the 25 movies I didn't incorporate in my list. I enjoyed it. I just couldn't put it on my list.
Yeah,
I'd seen other good ones.
Okay, so yeah, Fighter is actually one of my favorite movies, like I mentioned. You're actually dealing with a dysfunctional family, and you definitely tell that Mark Wahlberg's actually dealing with a dysfunctional family because you actually have Christian Bale, who's actually a drug addict, who was also a former heavyweight champion or light featherweight champion as well. And in matter of fact, the HBO documentary series that that it's actually based off of and everything. They were shooting a documentary in this movie about Christian Bale's character, and then it winds up being where he's now a junkie rather than someone that's actually being famous and things like that. One of my favorite scenes, though, that I actually have to laugh at is when, you know, the family is actually looking for Christian Bale. Everybody knows that Christian Bale's actually getting high. And what does he do? He goes on ahead, jumps out the window, and tries to sneak out of the house and jumps into a bunch of trash and everything and walks down the street like nothing even happened and is like, oh, here I am right here. But that scene made me laugh. But it also shows you the deterioration that drugs actually does something to their mental health as well. Matter of fact, Christian Bale lost tons of weight for that film.
Yeah.
You can basically see his rib cage, basically. And also, too, when Mickey, which is played by Mark Wahlberg's character, is actually trained to be a fighter, it was supposed to be him and his brother training, but instead he had to get one of the police officers to actually help him train that he actually knew, because his family, I think, is also knew some of the police captains and stuff like that. That's all part of the police force. So he winds up helping him train, and Mickey's busy trying to get high and everything. And then Mickey's like, what the hell are you doing here and everything? You're in my spot. And even Mark Wahlberg's girlfriend, who's actually a new person that they actually introduced into the film, it's like, you weren't even here for him like you were supposed to be here for him. You were busy getting high. Now he's stepping in to help. So either you're going to help or you're not going to help. But you can't do two things at once. And at that time, the family's actually against the girlfriend and everything. So you have confrontation there. It just shows you how messed up this family is and the backwards way of thinking and logic and everything with this family. But it's definitely a good movie. I definitely recommend people checking it out. I really had a lot of fun watching this movie, seeing the growth of Mark Wahlberg, being trained to be a fighter. I thought it was really good. So
I mean,
that was my number two.
Melissa Leo as the mom. I think she won an Oscar for her, I don't know, it might have been Best Actress or Supporting Actress. I'm not 100% sure. But I think my part, I remember that one vividly, is Amy Adams as the girlfriend, sucker punching the mom, and she has a blood. No, not the mom, but punching one of the other sisters in the face, and she's gushing blood.
Yep.
And then that's when they leave, because they obviously did not want that. And Amy Adams did not look like she definitely gained weight for her character in that movie.
Yeah, I think they were trying to go for the Italian kind of look, kind of style for her.
Yeah, it's a good movie. Great acting. Like you said, Charlie, I think she won Best Actress or Best Supporting Actress.
Melissa Leo did, I think, for that.
Yeah. I mean, great performances. Yeah, I think at the end of the movie, doesn't it show clips of
what's supposed to be Christian Bale's character?
Yeah. Doesn't show his performance seems like right on too. Like when it really
identical. Good. It's crazy on how
just shows how well Christian Bale, like how good of an actor he is, and how I guess he probably just used that film and stuff for research and probably talked to him.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So
I didn't have it. It's not on any of my lists. I just like that. I saw so many good movies. I just didn't have room for it on any of my lists. But I remember seeing it. It was decent. I mean, entertaining.
Yeah.
Okay. So. All right, so what about, Sean already talked about his number one.
Talked about Scott Pilgrim a lot.
Yeah. All right, my number one, John, you go, you're doing your number one, and I can finish.
Oh, no, we already did mine. Scott Pilgrim, man.
Okay.
I did mine. It was Inception.
No, go ahead and do yours, because we already know mine, because I'm just going to add more to Inception, but you can go.
We already know mine.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah.
So now you have the floor.
I love this movie. This was just the epitome. All throughout college, like I said, in one of my film classes, it's like at the end of the year we get to pick a movie. I'm like, I'm gonna pick Inception. It's not gonna win, and I find out from the professor, everybody voted Inception. I'm like, holy crap, we're doing Inception, because that means I did a final presentation on Inception. For my final presentation, I focused on the puzzle game and how each room that they're in had some sort of a puzzle in the background of it and like that. And the main big thing I want to talk about was the ending, and how like I said, I personally believe from the get-go, this was not a dream. He was, so anybody who hasn't seen the movie,
Don't spoil it.
I'm not gonna spoil
Yeah,
it.
don't, because there's.
Oh yeah. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
So anyway, how I believe it, how I believe this ending ended this way, because everybody kept because in the movie you'll see totems. That's their specific idea things that keeps you to know you're in reality, you're in the dream. So everybody's so focused in on this one Dom, which is played by Leo's totem, the whole time. But it turns out that's not really his totem. His totem, his wedding ring.
Okay.
So
Need something different. I ain't gonna rewatch that movie.
So yeah, that's what I found out, and then I think in the sequences where I think it's like I forgot it's been a while. I have to watch the movie again or read the article. I think he either in the rings when he doesn't have the ring on, it wasn't a dream, or I think it was I don't know. I keep getting them mixed up, but I think it's the thing to watch out is this wedding ring. But I've done presentations on this. I've shown this movie in my for our film club at school. I've shown this movie and we discussed it. Like I said, this movie is like for me the number one out of 2010. I just love this movie. Anytime it's on, I watch it. I mean, I have the poster. That was the very first movie poster I actually got was Inception. It was with Dom standing there and looking up and you see the collapsing. Tom Hardy. This is the first Tom Hardy movie I saw with him in, and he was fantastic as Eames. This is the banner with him and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, like how he comes out with a grenade launcher. And it's just like him. The whole snow sequence is his James Bond audition tape. Like how he's just like nonchalant. Like he definitely reminded me of James Bond. It was this movie is just fantastic, and anybody who hasn't seen it, you need to see it.
Definitely.
They just had their 10-year anniversary last July because it was 10 years, and that was when Tenet was supposed to be out on 7/17/20, which is almost the 10-year anniversary for Inception. And Tenet, I highly recommend Tenet as well. That was a great movie.
Yeah, I need to check that out.
So that's gonna be it. Okay, so this is actually going to be it for our top 10 2010 for the best of. But, sometime next week, we're actually going to do our top 10 worst movies of 2010. So I hope you guys actually come back again for that. And guys, if you guys want to, go on ahead, donate to the page. How do you do that? There's actually a link below. And, if you guys want to, go on ahead, click on the link below to donate to us and everything. And it's actually just something to actually.
There you go.
There you go. So, anyways, if you guys want to, go on ahead, donate to the page, to the GoFundMe, and the link below. Another thing, too, is, guys, if you guys love this episode, go on ahead, give us a like, smash that share button, and also, too, go on ahead, follow us at Movie Lovers TV Lovers Unite over there. Also, too, follow us on Movie Lovers TV Lovers Unite on Instagram and also on our Pinterest as well. Then, of course, we're also sponsored by Audible. So go on ahead, get you guys a 30-day trial by clicking the link below. Go on ahead, give us some love over there, and sign up for your 30-day trial. Another thing, too, guys, is go on ahead. And there's also another thing, too, that I actually want to mention, too. Go on ahead, go to Movie Lovers Unit on Twitter. Follow me over there, and also John DeGorio 8 on Twitter if you guys want to follow me there. I'm also on Speaker now, and on the Stereo app. And basically, what you guys can do over there is just listen to an audio. Basically, it's just a live audio podcast, one-on-one with me and another guest and stuff like that. And that's actually the new thing that I'm going to be starting up. And you guys can actually interact with me through your live voice recordings now too, and it's actually pretty fun. And then, of course, you can get this podcast on wherever you get your podcast from with the audio-only podcast. Always until next time, have a good night. Stay safe. Thank you again, Charlie. Thank you, Sean, for joining me. It's been fun.
Anytime.
I can't wait to do our top 10 disappointing movies of 2010.
Yeah.
And thank you to everybody in the live chat as well. Thank you, Rossi. Thank you, Tara. Thank you for Larry Lease for talking about your number one, which was Shutter Island. So thank you. Yep. So thank you again, everybody. And always until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.